Hi there, everybody. I decided to hop on this evening because I received an email and I wanted to use the time to respond. And the email says, "Dear Julie, I've been watching many of your videos, and in one of the recent videos you said, my wake-up sentence was, recognition of the self is the self, honor that recognition. The problem is I don't know what you mean by the self. Yes, I can say that something affects myself. I understand when I say, for example, she thinks a lot of herself or he thinks a lot of himself, but I really don't understand what you mean by the self. Is it the same? Is it the same thing as myself, himself, and herself? So I really love this question because I think this is a common dilemma that many spiritual seekers have, and I can certainly put my hand up and, with all honesty, say that I was really driven to seek, in the form of doing retreats and programs and meditation and, many practices, because I really believed that I was the person, the story, and it was the person and the story that, through a lot of effort, concerted effort, would eventually be able to attain this lofty state of being, which, we can call enlightenment or self-realization. What it took me a long time to realize is that when we speak of the self, we're speaking about the higher self, the truth of who we are prior to the story. And that can be also called absolute awareness. It can be called source. It's actually really hard to give it a name, because it's the nameless truth of who we already are before any descriptor is assigned to it. And you don't have to take my word for it. You can test this yourself by just answering a very simple question. And that question is, are you aware? And if you ask pretty much anyone, they'll say, yes, of course I'm aware. And you can also take that a little deeper and say, are you aware of awareness? And again, most people say, well, yes, I am aware of awareness. And this awareness is the truth of who you are. This is your real identity. It never comes and goes. It doesn't change. It's not subject to any kind of diminishment with respect to your health. If you're not feeling well or you're in a bad mood or something, the self or absolute awareness never diminishes, it never changes, and it never comes and goes. So that is the higher self. Absolute awareness, or source, is another term. And the small self, or the small I, is your story. Your name, where you were born, where you're from, what kind of work you do, what school you went to, all of those things is the kind of the narrative of the personal story, or the small I, so to speak. And even though, because of kind of language limitations, sometimes it's really hard to put this into words, but we can often think of it in terms of two, the higher self and the small I. But essentially, there's only one self, and within the expression of that one self is the small I, or the personal I, or the story. So, of course, if you are like someone like I was, who was absolutely convinced that the small I, the story of who I was someday, through the practices, going to attain enlightenment, you may as well forget it, because that's never going to happen. The simple truth and the work, so to speak, is to switch gears with respect to your identification. And that's not such a big step. It's a minuscule step with respect to suddenly realizing, as I did, that recognition of the self is the self. You know, every time you have a resonance, when you hear truth, when somebody shares truth, or when you read the words of a great being, that recognition that is, you know, that sits within you, so to speak, that is prior to the story or prior to the movement of the mind, is already the self, is already the higher self, or absolute awareness itself. That is who you are. And you don't even need to go on a spiritual journey or any seeking journey to find it, because it's already here. It's already here. And it always will be here. It never, ever comes and goes. So I wanted to leave that with you and share that. And to thank the person who sent the email. I did say that I would share online for the benefit of other people. So I want to thank her for sending the email and for being so honest about something that, you know, really trips many seekers up. And it can really be an obstacle, trying to figure out, you know, what is the self, and, you know, how do I get to the self? Maybe if I meditate for 3 hours, you know, longer every day or something, or do more, you know, repetition of a mantra, I'll get there, or more hatha yoga. And the truth is, the self is who you are. That's the truth of who you are. So there we are. What can I say? All right, so that's enough for me for now. Take it easy, be well, and I'll talk to you again soon.